Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this Friday, September 24th edition of Nadex Morning Analysis. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me is Brian Caprice from Keep Trading Simple, and we are going to look at some hot spots in the markets for today. There was some news overnight, interesting news, and we're going to take a look at how people are starting to digest that and which markets are being impacted. Before we jump into it, I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone. That any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And lastly, this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. So, what are we actually seeing today in the markets? And, let me just take a quick look over at my notes. So, number one, we've been mentioning for a while, China's been threatening cryptocurrencies, trying to ban people from mining them and limiting activity. Well, they're going at it. They've now made it illegal to do any transactions with cryptocurrencies, and they've given areas within China the ability to start enforcing that and making it illegal around foreign crypto players who are promoting cryptocurrencies in China. They're going to start going after them. They've made all those transactions illegal. So they're really starting to lock down measures. Now, what's interesting is you're seeing crypto getting hammered, but you would think, and here's a chart of gold, that maybe because people have been using cryptocurrency in place of gold as a safe haven, and that's simply not the case. I mean, gold is actually going down with cryptocurrencies. Where we are seeing some strength, the US dollar. That is where people are going. That is the flight to quality. The U.S. dollar is seeing some strength. So we're going to take a look at the strength of the U.S. dollar. The other thing going on, some more concerns about Evergrande. I know that this was the story earlier in the week, and the market really had a washout. People kind of got more comfortable with it, but Evergrande has gone silent on some of their payments that they have due. And you're seeing equities off a little bit, maybe about 0.5%. We'll take a look at those equity charts. So that's really what we want to focus on, is what's going on with the fallout from the crypto news out of China, as well as the Evergrande news out of China, and how that's impacting the US dollar, and then how that's currently impacting US equities for potential opportunities today. So Brian, I'm going to flip it over to you, and let's just take a look at what we've got going on. And I know you've got a whole lot more color commentary about what's going on with China and
Could you
cryptos,
say I'm a,
for
I'm a
sure.
colorful individual? Is that as I'm wearing all gray? Yeah. So basically, it's the next step, and this is pretty interesting. There's a lot of different articles out there. This one is in Time, talking about how they've taken really kind of the next step for things. It says all cryptocurrencies, including Bitcoin and Tether, are not fiat currency and cannot be circulated in the market. They said all crypto-related transactions, including services provided by offshore exchanges to domestic residents, are illicit financial activities. So, kind of going back to the interesting thing about it is, and this is what I love, from a nation that is absolutely nowhere close to carbon neutral. They were the ones that, if you guys remember, they stayed
Yeah,
in the Paris Climate Accord, but then lied about every single thing that they did. They did none of the measures to change, everything they were doing. Pollution is just rampant in China. Because meanwhile, the nation's economic planning agency said it's an urgent task for China to root out crypto mining, and the crackdown is important to meet carbon goals. So they're acknowledging the fact that, again, all these people that are totally
take it where you
against
can get it.
climate change are the same people that are like, but buy cryptos. It's like, you guys are adding to it. They're absolutely horrible. Yeah, it's nuts. You would do, yeah, it's crazy. So China is saying crypto is bad because, again, climate change. So it really goes back to, again, they are taking, this is kind of like, it was like, I forget the DEFCON scale. Like, I think the higher the number is, the worse it gets. It's gone from like number 1 to like number 2 now. They're just ramping it up. And
Yeah.
remember, this just comes on the back of the test of China's, blockchain, currency, digital currency will be coming in at the end of the year. So kind of
Right, you
interesting
kind
how
of see it, right?
everything is illegal except
Once
this.
they get their
Yep.
official fiat currency in a digital form using the
Yep.
blockchain technology, they're just going to wipe out the other ones and force everyone into
Yep,
their
you will. And
version
that's
of the
and
digital.
yeah. And the part that's scary about this is Other nation, I mean, there are other nations that are doing tests as well, and yet the United States has done nothing. They're like, yeah, we'll kind of see how it goes. And again, talking about the United States losing control over kind of the global economy and where, kind of how business goes. This is a perfect example of how we're losing control. Again, we've lost control of the
We're
oil
not
markets
leading.
again. We're not leading. We're following. And again,
Right.
as a world leader, it's very hard to, have your opinion matter when you're like, yeah, we'll see. Now, this is one of those things that I think is extremely important for us to get ahead of. I agree with China's statements. I think this is great. I do think all the benefits that people talk about with crypto, I think are just lies. Oh, you can't follow it. They don't know what I'm doing with my money. Great.
They know all of it.
They know
They
all of it.
absolutely can track it.
Yeah, they can track it. You can still do illegal things with it, but they can track it until a certain point. Things. So it's not like you're getting any type of anonymity whatsoever with it. And if you did, again, then there's the illegal activity that's associated with it. So it doesn't matter if Tesla wants it or not. As of right now, if it doesn't matter that Tesla accepts Bitcoin, you try to buy a Tesla in China with Bitcoin, bam, it's
No.
illegal. And that's the
Yep.
easiest way to get yourself banned from China in general. Apple went through that same process where it was kind of like, are they going to ban all iPhones from China? It happens, guys. But again, it does provide different trading opportunity for us. So far right now, I would say overall the currencies, they're reacting a little bit to it. We are seeing a little bit of dollar strength. I wouldn't say that it's astronomical dollar strength coming across the board. They're up a little bit. Dollar Swiss is up a little bit. Dollar yen is up a little, and that it's more of a yen story because you're seeing the yen do some stuff. Aussie dollar is down, but again, Aussie is bouncing off of a technical area of supply. So we kind of called that yesterday. And again, after the huge rocket ship that the pound had yesterday, you would expect to see a bit of a retracement yesterday. It was up huge yesterday based off of their monetary policy. I mean, pound yen was up a ton. So again, seeing that one down 52 is not bad, but euro dollar's down 16, and it's kind of retracing in the last couple of minutes. So not really anything huge. So I think that what we will need to watch out for today is Powell speaking. Now, whenever
and I
Powell
forgot. And then there's that. We've got not
yeah,
just Powell, but we've got several of the Fed presidents all speaking today.
yeah,
Throughout the day.
and honestly, Powell's speech, he's delivering the opening remarks for an online event. So what I would say with that is this a scenario where Powell's going to make a pre-written speech? Yes. Is he going to get questions about this opening remarks? No. Is he going to say that anything that's inflammatory on a Friday in opening remarks of an online event? No. So it's kind of one of those things like, yes, when you see Powell, you're like, but the reality is he going to say anything earth-shattering today when two days ago he had the monetary policy meeting notes? Probably not. So
He'll stick to the script.
yeah, so as much as you see this and you're like, oh, this is amazing. I can't wait to this. 10 o'clock today. It's probably, people are going to watch it because his name is up there, but is it going to be something, is he going to drop a bomb today after, he had the opportunity to do it 2 days ago? No, I don't think so. It would be very out of character for him to do it.
So with all
but-
of this, can we just take a peek at a couple of the charts? I don't know which ones, maybe the euro pound, the euro pound, or I'm not the euro, the dollar pound, or the dollar, the pound dollar, or the pound, or the euro dollar.
yeah, I mean, they're all the same. I mean, Aussie dollars here.
I need more coffee this morning, don't I?
Yeah, I know, right? When it's cold, I need to refill my coffee this morning. Yeah, I mean, they're all kind of the same right now. We mentioned yesterday, Aussie dollar had that 73.17, and it did. It bounced right off of it. We missed it by I think it was like 1.1 pips, depending on your broker. You would have got in. Again, this is where Nadex is beautiful because you need to get close. You don't need to be dead on. So
Right.
again, there's that. Euro dollar kind of doing the same thing. It didn't really get back up. It ran into a lot of sellers from yesterday, and it's really just retracing that spike we saw coming from Wednesday. So you can say that there's that huge parabolic move down with the news immediately. And then it rallied back up again fast, and now we're kind of getting back to that equilibrium point inside of the spike. So it's kind of doing what it's supposed to do, and even the pound, the same thing. We talked about a level that was tested over here yesterday, and we mentioned some, you're going to have some hiccups, and it did. It had some hiccups in here and slowly, but it's ground its way back down again, and kind of the same thing. We took that bounce, we launched up, and now it's just coming back into kind of somewhat of like an equilibrium point for Friday, kind of everything reset. So it's nice to say that this is all about the dollar, but in reality, it's about kind of everything. And I'll put this up there, and I don't know if you guys can see it. It's kind of hard to see. I can kind of see it on the little one, but
the one spike with the China news.
do you
on
guys
crypto.
see that? Like, so this madness right here. This was Wednesday. Okay, this was Wednesday with the FOMC statement. It was kind of, it was the indecision. It drove it high, and again, anybody that's watched the webinars, the parabolic retracement webinars. Guys, guess what? It did a parabolic retracement. It ran all the way back down again. And then it started to move back to its equilibrium point, right? Started rallying. And then I don't know, like I said, I'll make it as big, but I don't know if you guys
Oh,
can
you
see
can
the
see it.
candle.
You can definitely see it. It's
This right
one
here?
can.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see it on the mini version here, the preview, but this candle's insane. I mean, it literally goes from in the context of things. That's how big right there. That's how big the candle is, and yet the body is only this big. You know, make it really really dark. That's how big the body of the candle is. So talk about indecisiveness. It's like, oh my god, what do we do? Is it good? Is it bad? Let's spike it up. Let's spike it down. It just shows you how crazy the markets can be. And all we're doing is, at the end of the day, yeah, it's a red candle. It went up and down. It's still, and again, if I adjust this to kind of the near term here, you can see it did not break the bottom of that zone that kind of tested kind of that Harry Potter confirmation based zone and all
Right.
that craziness. And all it done is now, again, had you
And
been in
that
the trade for that, it would have went up. And again, we're continuing to go higher. So it's going back to equilibrium where it is. And I would,
and by the way,
I
it
would expect to see it
was
today.
just so people are that's when China posted it from their bank.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go start locking down
Whacking
on
everybody.
on on cryptos.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar made a spike higher, and so it's rather interesting to see that it's not the gold, but it's the dollar that where the immediate reaction was, and so
Yeah, it was definitely by
paying
far the
attention to
biggest.
the U.S. dollar on that.
Yeah, I mean, gold. There's no gigantic spike there. Actually, that
Nothing,
that data came in last. It's non-existent. And again, we're rallying up from the
and then
zone.
it's rolled over. Right.
Yeah, and silver's kind of the same thing.
Same thing.
So,
Exact same thing.
mhm.
All right. So now, I mean, that's kind of what we're seeing from the crypto news. Now, Evergrande back in the news again. They've gone silent on their payments. And then let's just talk about that because we are seeing some weakness in U.S. equities this morning.
Yeah, I mean, they have a 30-day grace period. So this was kind of like I don't know if you guys have ever heard the saying, hurry up and wait. So I would say that Monday was kind of like a hurry up and wait, like, oh my God, Evergrande's going to crash. It's Lehman Brothers, even though it was not Lehman Brothers. But now they're like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen during our 30-day grace period. So it's like, wait a second, nobody talked about the 30-day grace period on Monday when the markets were collapsing. And now it's kind of like, oh, wait a second, guys. Um,
Ha
yeah, it's like, ha ha ha, gotcha. So, yeah, I mean, it's there. It hasn't disappeared. It's still obviously out in the markets, but you're talking about this 30-day grace period. They've gone silent because they're not broadcasting it. And again, if you understand the society and the culture of their business over there, it's something that they are not proud of. China especially does not want any type of eyesore or people pointing like, hey, listen, don't let China run it because of that. They are trying to take over as being the world leaders as far as like, the economy and business. This is not a bright spot for them. So I wouldn't actually be surprised if we don't really hear much about it, and then in like 3 weeks, it's kind of like, what was it? Remember Evergrande? Remember that we had that big movement, and we never hear anything
Right.
about it again. So, it's one of those things. I think it's at this point it's more of a distraction. But again, because it is in the news, people are a bit
Let's take a look at the
concerned.
S&P real quickly and just, I mean, because I actually, I've been playing around with the chart a little bit, but if you just want
Yeah,
to take a peek, I mean, everything's rolling over a little bit, but I think we're
yeah,
actually might be at some interesting levels
yeah, and
where we
like I
are
said,
right now.
I mean, here's ES. I mean, you can see, oh, look at that. Magically, what did we bounce off of? There was a level of basing. Oops, I don't need it that dark. There is your level of basing, and guess what? That basing just happened to occur. Just happened to occur at 45.50. We've talked about those half numbers and those quarter numbers. And again, here was what we had on yesterday. We had a nice spike up from a level right at the open, and what happened? It's just retracing right back down again. Again, it's one of those things where it's very, very clean candles, very, very fast. And all we did was get a little bit of a bounce, hit late last night. And again, this is where the Chinese data came in. And it's just reverting back to where the price was anyway today. So coming back down to that 4,400 total. I mean, we're at 44.12 right now. So again, it was an overnight based trade on this one.
Yeah,
Is
and
there
by the
anything
way,
that Pal's. What?
and before you go, I mean, I just wanted to kind of show this for anyone who looks at Fibonacci's. It's rather interesting where we are right now, and I'm just going to kind of hover it here, right around that 44.15 ish level.
Mhm.
It is the 61.8 fib. It was a place where we paused on the way down, and on a retrace. I mean, it was a place where we had some sellers, and now here we are. It's in theory it would be a little bit of support in here, but we're dancing right around this level. But you know, it is hovering around this 44.15 level. We'll see what the retail trader has to say about that once they step into the markets in a half hour.
Yeah, and they're all kind of set up the same exact way. I mean, ES we're pushing back down to that level, and again, just real fast, we're coming down to that 4,400.
And then the
NQ
even numbers, right?
NQ's already back. We're already at 15,200. Has already come back down. And again, is this a zone to buy? Not really, because it pushed it literally to the brink last time of breaking. So that's why
Right.
it's testing it lower. YM still has some room to go on that one. I would say that YM is it's still got a bit to go back down again, and that was yesterday's open. Remember, drop it to the 15-minute, look for the levels of basing. And then Russell, we actually had a position where I was like, listen, if we can break through this level, that would be a decent short. And if you carry it across, you can see that it's really, really been
And
chopping. We
to...
just literally just got kind of that Harry Potter confirmation, right? The breakthrough and then the pullback, right? Right there.
So with all of these, we might be actually looking at, I mean, at a bit more of a weaker open
Mm-hmm.
because it is at these levels and it seems to be testing all of them. It's
Yep.
kind of come to a level and now it really wants to test to push
Mm-hmm.
lower. So something to look
And again,
at.
having Powell speak at 10 o'clock is going to suck some of the power out of that open today, just
Yeah.
because it's like, what is he going to say? But remember, what has Powell, I mean, has he had a more hawkish or a more dovish kind of, every time he speaks, it's pretty much great for the stock market. Why? Because we're going to push it off down the line. Inflation is transfer. Everything he say has been pro stock market.
Well,
So
maybe we can get a feel good Friday. Maybe we'll get
yeah,
a wash out at the open.
that's what I'm thinking. Is it? This is the Europeans pushing it down, waiting for Powell to speak at 10, just so he could be like, yeah, everything looks great. Inflation's not there. We're not going to do anything. Yeah, it's all good. And then again, boom, we have a feel good Friday. So
I
yeah,
hope
I feel like that's where we're at today. But
All
I will say, guys, for Sunday night, there's a lot of opportunity out there. China is going to make waves today with the currency market kind of leveling off, doing what it's doing right now. A lot of the extremes right now are being hit. And when we find those extreme zones, the tops and bottoms where we retrace back up again, and really many of these currency pairs, right? These are great opportunities for Sunday night. Especially with things like the Aussie. Aussie driving down into levels of buyers, they gap into there on Sunday night. Remember, typically going into Monday morning, it tends to be a weak dollar morning, and then the U.S. trader steps in and reverses it. We're getting close to a lot of those in a lot of these pairs. Pound dollar, same thing. Dollar CAD again, driving back up again. So we'll see where it goes. So there could be a lot of opportunity this Sunday night.
So
If you guys are going to be trading.
that's actually great. I mean, we might see continued U.S. dollar strength carry on a bit, particularly with the crypto news. And then Sunday evening, look for potential rollovers. But go to the charts, take a look. That's actually perfect. That's a great way to kind of wrap up the week. With that, any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. If you've got questions, Brian is also accessible. You can hit him up at support@keeptradingsimple.com. And really what we talked about today, there's the crypto news out of China. We're seeing, obviously the cryptos are getting hammered, but we're seeing some strength into the US dollar. And then Evergrande poking its head back in again with what's going on the potential default on their debt. I mean, a highly leveraged real estate giant out of China, and we're seeing some pressure on U.S. equities, which we might see continued through the open. But remember, we do have a bunch of folks from the Fed speaking throughout the day, including Powell. So they might be, I don't think there's going to be any surprises, but you got to be aware that they will be in front of a microphone. With that, I want to thank everyone for joining us. Brian and I will be back on Monday. Good luck in the markets, everyone.